I really like Beatsaber. Sure, it has its dev team issues, and this year especially has been pretty messy, but god damn it, the concept and execution is really good. This has my favourite official content out of any rhythm game I've played, and they seem to be getting better and better. And so, a Beatsaber ranking video seemed too good to pass up. I get to yap for 40 minutes about something I love, you guys get an easy to watch ranking video, Beatsaber gets to be praised after a year where people kept on spamming all their posts asking about custom sabers. A few quick things, the original OSTs are a fair bit lower quality than the newer ones for good reason. The creators had far less experience making levels and they didn't have the resources to make insane lighting fixtures. In the ranking, I'll acknowledge that and compensate for it a little bit, but as you'll see, the later levels are generally going to be a little higher. Also, difficulty doesn't make a level better, but difficulty does make a level more interesting, and a good level that you spend 40 minutes trying to beat is more fun than one you spend 3 minutes trying to beat. Anyways, with that out of the way, grab your sabers, get the last laugh, and let's get straight into the ranking. Oh my god, what is One Hope? Why would you play this? There is nothing to be gained from it. It's pretty difficult to make playing Beatsaber unfun, but this one does it by just being boring. The levels that have poor mapping are at least interesting and keep you on your toes. This one is just... like, I get it's weird to say that this level is just moving the sabers up and down because that's just how you play the game, but that's truly what this level is. It's just the same thing, hitting notes for 3 minutes so you can say you beat the level. It was the first level I beat on Expert Plus, and I'm glad I got it out of the way first. Also, the song is really bad. Moving on. Level Insane is not good. It's a definite step up from One Hope, but it's still not very good at all. My main problem with this level is that most of the gameplay just straight up doesn't work. There are a fair few really fun patterns, but also a bunch of practically unfair and really poor ones. It stops being enjoyable when you have to practically play a game of Limbo to hit a random note in the top right corner that has to be hit at an angle from the 4th dimension. Couple that with a pretty bad song and you have one of the worst levels in the game. Give a Little Love is probably the most lifeless level in the game. The gameplay in this one has one kind of annoying pattern that repeats for like 8 times, a cool wall gimmick, and nothing else notable in any way. It has one of my least favourite songs in the game too. It doesn't have any intense or interesting parts, it's also just boring. The light show is obviously not the best since it's OST 3, but I'll say that there's one cool part when the music dies down. Here you go, here's your not the worst sticker. Full Charge is forgettable, the song is kind of really bad and the mapping is subpar. I can't tell if it's incredibly easy or very difficult and I don't care to replay it enough to find out. That's literally all I have to say about it. I know there are 5 below, but it's one of my least favourite just because I don't find it interesting at all. Breezer is a really unimportant level. The music is pretty boring and indistinguishable from any other OST 1 track, the gameplay doesn't match the music that well at all, the gameplay is only enjoyable because of the game's mechanics, and generally this is one of the levels that I think least about. It doesn't help that it's ridiculously easy, I mean it's a real breezer. Country Rounds has one of the largest gaps in quality between the song and gameplay in the game. Like seriously, this track is absolutely awesome, it's just so damn satisfying. The rest of the level isn't really. I wouldn't call the gameplay bad or unfun I guess, but it's also just not something I ever feel like going back to. It's a little boring and a little janky. I don't know, this level just didn't do the song justice, god damn it. Angel Voices is god awful and I kind of love it for that reason. It is far too long, feels super repetitive, has the most inconceivable gameplay for the entirety of it, which gets unimaginably more difficult 4.5 minutes in, and the track is experimental in a not very good way. But I think I can see the vision. You spend the whole first 4 minutes stressing about the final quarter, so when you finally get there, it is incredibly intense. And because of the bad mapping, the only way to not lose is to pay maximum attention to every single note. The first winning attempt will usually have multiple moments where you lose a lot of health quickly, forcing you to desperately lock the hell in. And the final stretch is like a heartbeat where you will yourself to hit every note. Don't get me wrong, it needs a lot of fixing, but this could easily be one of the best in the game if everything about it were reworked a bit. Legend is similar to Breezer, but the gameplay is better. I'd say this is the turning point where the levels stop being bad. While Breezer has kind of flaily gameplay, but doesn't lean into it that much, Legend leans into the flailing a lot, which while not being the most fun thing in the world, gives the level a lot more personality. The song isn't exactly my cup of tea, but it does make the level feel a bit more inspiring. A lot of games will have hard levels that try to be intimidating, either with intense music, flashing lights, dark imagery, or a lot of trolling, but when Beatsaber has difficult levels, it feels like it wants you to get back up and try again. That's not to say that this is one of the harder levels in the game, quite the opposite, but I'm trying to say that it feels much more positive when you beat it. Beatsaber is bad, and I really liked it. Not only is Beatsaber the title level and fills that role perfectly with its iconic track, but this level is so clearly trying to be incredibly difficult that it's kind of funny. There's a bunch of streams and variety in odd patterns, and it makes for a level that is surprisingly janky and also dynamic to play, and becomes much funnier when you think about the people making it. Immortal, the best of the OST3 levels that are super forgettable trilogy. The song and lighting is pretty fun, definitely a significant step up from the other two. The gameplay is generally fine and matches the song well. I literally don't have anything else to say about this one, moving on. I Need You is okay. I feel like this should be the kind of level I really like, but I honestly don't get all that much out of it. The song is a weird mix between standard EDM and kind of emotional, and it's not really my vibe. The gameplay is good and has some high NPS sections which I do enjoy, but it's also unfortunately set back by the mapping skill that hadn't really developed by OST2. Also, the environment is pretty cool. I think Elixir is the single most forgettable level for me. That doesn't mean it's bad or anything, it actually has pretty fun gameplay, but the level just has really little personality. The song is pretty confusing and repetitive, the gameplay is a little odd, and the map is just the exact stuff we've seen before. It doesn't have really that much going for it in terms of originality. However, I do like how chaotic the gameplay gets by the end. The song itself gradually grows more moving parts, each getting louder and softer, almost arbitrarily, so the mapping in the final stretch requires you to have a lot of focus. I think that part is memorable enough to make this level be overall pretty good. Be There For You is a nice level. The song is nice, the mapping is solid, the environment is comfy, it's also really easy. Like, this is my pick for what should be your first Expert Plus because it only gets more difficult from here. I don't have anything I specifically like about it or anything I specifically dislike. It's a decent 6 out of 10. Crab Rave is a pretty fun, unobtrusive level. While a fair bit of the mapping is kinda dated, there's a lot of surprisingly fun patterns around the chorus and build-up. The music is pretty good, obviously Crab Rave is one of the biggest songs in Beatsaber. For being such a meme level, it kind of sucks that it doesn't have the lighting capabilities of more recent ones, but it's still a fun playing experience. Escape is definitely one that could have been even better, but what we have is still good. First and foremost, the thing holding this level back is the balancing. The verse sections are probably normal difficulty, and the chorus sections are on the more difficult side of OST1, which is really annoying, even if the level itself is overall really easy. The gameplay itself, despite being dated, is actually pretty fun to play, and that's amplified by the music, which is one of my favourites from the first OST. It's so nice to listen to. Crystallize, the first Camellia track on the list. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I actually don't love the song. It seems like a beta Camellia track in some ways, definitely got the right elements, but just isn't packing enough to be all that memorable. The level itself though is pretty okay. The gameplay in this level is pretty unbalanced and generally the least interesting of all the Camellia levels, though it's still enjoyable. This generally doesn't have as much personality as the other Camellia levels, but this one's solid enough. $100 bills has always been the co-introduction to the game alongside the level Beatsaber. As tutorials, they're both around the same quality wise, but as levels, the $100 bills had a much smoother transition into Expert Plus. It's pretty finicky, sure, but it has a lot of variety and interesting ideas with the gameplay, so it's at least better than most other OST1 tracks. The music itself is also pretty great. Spooky Beat is kind of interesting because it's objectively a little bad, but it has a lot more charm than almost all of the previous levels. It's nice to have a level that's solely focused on bombs because they're definitely underutilized everywhere else. The song fits the vibe of the level very well, and the environment gets you right in the mood for the level. It also requires a fair bit of focus. It's very easy to lose your tempo on one of the streams or to accidentally hit multiple bombs in a row. With that said, the song is just kind of a beat and the gameplay can get a tad annoying. Balearic Pumping is a pretty fun and good level. The gameplay flows surprisingly well, especially in the section on screen right now. It seems really haphazard, but it actually feels cool as hell. I like how the gameplay builds up to the drop too. The environment is also one we don't see very often, so that's neat. My main issue is the song, which is one of my least favourites in the game and sounds like depressurized sneakers on basketball courts. Reason for Living is the first OST3 track on this list that's good. The music stands out from the more electric tracks that we got in the rest of the OST, the lighting is pretty cool throughout, the gameplay is a little jarring, but it mostly has sections that flow well. I don't have that much to say about it, it's just good. I like Cycle Hit, but I do have a few issues with it. The music is not one of them though. God damn, Camellia makes good music. The song goes super hard, especially near the end. The light show also, while obviously being anchored by the time it came out, is still pretty great and works very well in the sections where there's no gameplay. The gameplay is where I'm a little mixed. I do think it's pretty good, but there are definitely a fair few annoying note placements, weird patterns, and the core gameplay doesn't stand out as much as most other Camellia levels. I also wouldn't call it boring by any means, but you can feel its length by the time you're in the final stretch. I do enjoy the gameplay, it's just got some issues for me. Before an actual review, I'd like to bring attention to my friend, who whenever they come over to my house, they will always play this level first. Hello, my friend.
You know who you are.
Anyways, this is a pretty cool level. The mapping is definitely a little dated, but I'd say it at least brings the level a bit of charm. The environment and colours are surprisingly great. The orange and purple combo goes super hard. The song is also pretty dang good. The level's kind of forgettable, but I don't have any issues with it. Exit This Earth's Atmosphere could have been one of the best levels in the game if it came out today. The song is not only fit perfectly for Beatsaber, but it's also one of the best songs in Beatsaber, period. With that said, the level is still pretty great. The gameplay is pretty good by early game standards, especially in the first drop section, which is the part I replay the most. It's definitely unbalanced and one that I don't play from the start too often, but it's still very fun, and if nothing else, a great one to listen to. Aha! The first Boomkitty song! All of these rank highly, since Boomkitty makes great music that fits super well into Beatsaber. Drum and bass is the lowest because of the limitations of OST 2, but even here you could tell that the creators were onto something while making this. The gameplay has some nice flow to it, the lighting effects are starting to get creative, and the music goes hard as hell. The second drop especially is super intense, and I love how it's allowed to be more difficult despite the fact that it's in one of the earlier OSTs. World Wide Web is a pretty cool level in my opinion. It's always been one of the least memorable ones of the last 5 OSTs for me, since all of its aspects are good without being great, but it's still cool. The gameplay doesn't always work, but it does have some really satisfying patterns at certain points. The light show isn't my #1 favourite, but it's still pretty good, and the music is also fine. Not much else to say, just a good one to play every now and again. It's a pretty good sign if this is the worst level of the 5 most recent OSTs. Untamed was always my least favourite of the recent OSTs, and actually used to be a fair bit lower. I played it recently, and while it's still not my #1 favourite, I do appreciate it a whole lot more. The one thing that this level doesn't have at all is progression, which really sucks. The level has very similar mapping, lighting, music, and intensity throughout its entirety, and that's part of what made me originally dislike it as much as I did. However, everything else is pretty good. The mapping fits the music well and is pretty satisfying, the music could be more interesting, but it's still nice, and the light show has tons of really large structures, which I'm a big fan of. Turn Me On has always felt underrated to me. While the song is really not my thing, the gameplay actually goes kind of hard. It has really unique and interesting patterns for OST 1, and I think they're executed surprisingly fairly. There are a few different points in this level that just feel really cool to go through, and what makes it even better is that this level does have a fair bit of challenge to it. Origins is a real burst of energy. The strobe lighting, high impact music, and decently intense gameplay makes for a level that I don't think is technically the best, but I do love to play. The gameplay being unbalanced and a little jerky is what's holding this back, but it's not a massive issue and the gameplay is at least very iconic. Like, I can't hammer in enough that this level is unbalanced as hell and has an unremarkable song in a vacuum, but it works much more than similar OST 1 levels. Liftoff was a really well-timed track for me. I joined the game pretty soon after OST 5 dropped, so I spent most of my time first playing the game without a new OST at all. But when I heard number 6 was dropping soon, I was thrilled, and one of the first levels I played once it was out was Liftoff. And yeah, this level is perfect for that excitement and curiosity that comes from a new release. It's like when Cyber City first kicked in Delta in Chapter 2. As a level on its own though, I think it's good. Nothing about it is particularly bad, the gameplay's solid, the light show's charming, and the music is generic but also nice to listen to. I think this is one of the lesser liked OST 6 levels, and while I kinda get it, I have too much bias to put it any lower. Commercial Pumping is the final OST 1 level we're going to talk about. The OST has its charm, but you can definitely tell that people didn't really know how to make levels fun yet. Well, except for this one, Commercial Pumping has a really good rhythm to it that you feel throughout the entire level. It's one of the more difficult OST 1 songs, which is to its benefit because it can really play with some of the shorter notes and keep a steady stream heading towards you as a player. It also has some really satisfying patterns, and I love me a good pattern. The music is also pretty great, honestly one of my favourites from the first OST. For the Camellia pack, What the Cat is pretty miraculous. It can't ride off the coattails of Bring Really Hard or a grand song, and had to rely on its gameplay instead. This would usually be pretty damn bad, but What the Cat has some shockingly great music representation. It's definitely jerky and all over the place, but once you learn it well enough, it has some pretty fun patterns. The song itself is really fun and fits surprisingly well into Beatsaber, which I think is clearest in the final drop section. This level definitely has its issues, but I like it a fair bit. Luster is a weird one because I feel I should like it way more than I actually do. The song is really good, the gameplay's really good, and the lighting is really good. But I think I'm not as into what it's going for as much as most other Camellia tracks. This is one of the few Camellia songs outside of the Camellia pack to go for something a little more emotional, similar to Crystallized. I don't really enjoy that as much as things like Badly, Tempo Katana, or Final Boss Shine, all of which go for intensity and strange rhythm. I just don't get into this level as much as those, which sucks because it's much more a personal taste thing than an actual quality thing. Generally though, I think all of the main aspects are really good, just falling a little short of everything upcoming. Well, we are about halfway through the ranking now. As a little intermission, I figured I'd mention the DLC that I have from this game. I have 3 pieces of DLC. Overkill from the first Monster Cat pack, the Rock Music pack, and Godzilla from the Hip Hop pack. Overkill has not aged well at all, and I was expecting it to be this custom level only to be very confused while playing it. With that said, the music fits Beatsaber so well that it doesn't matter that much. The Rock pack is super good, and I get the impression that most other people really like it. The music is good, the mapping is pretty good, the environment is fantastic. It was the last pack that came out before I picked up the game, interestingly enough. My favourite level has gotta be Freebird, for obvious reasons. It's a real stress test, and the endurance during the last section is awesome as flip. Finally, Godzilla. The hip-hop environment and colour scheme definitely isn't my favourite, but the gameplay of this one is very satisfying. I'm usually not too interested in DLC content unless it's a specific song I or someone I know would like, but I still think it's cool that these guys can make extra levels for the game while still maintaining the high quality on the main game. Anyways, if you're enjoying the video, feel free to like, and if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. I'm always up for content suggestions, so if you want me to do a video on a particular topic, just comment and I'll see if it'll work. Anyways, back to the ranking. Curtains is a really solid track. I think that OST 5 is the most consistent in quality since they're all good for similar reasons. Even though it's at the bottom, I wouldn't call Curtains All Night Long the worst one per se, probably just the least interesting. The mapping is very fun, combines techie and standard gameplay very well, and the music goes for something much more emotional than most Beatsaber tracks, which is interesting. The only thing that puts this below the others is the lighting. It's kind of jagged and doesn't fit the song too well, which is out of place for OST 5. Overload has been a little bit of a weird one for me, and one of the main ones from OST 8 that got me tossing and turning deciding where to put it. It has a very unique vibe compared to the other OST 8 levels. The others could be defined in a single word. Starlight's chill. The Master's a boss fight. Dragon Smash Goblin is difficult. This one isn't like that. It's more of a mix of repetition, pessimism, rhythm, and a light show that is going way over the top. Seriously, these lights fit a Camellia track way more than something like this. Anyways, the gameplay doesn't stand out, but it's still very fun, especially when it starts getting into its patterns, and the song is really listenable, if that makes sense. This is definitely an interesting level, which I still don't know how to place. Starlight's real neat. It's one of the most aggressively chill levels in the game, and when it's in an OST with the Master 2, Camellia, and Dragon Force, that is much welcomed. The gameplay feels very nice to play, the song feels very nice to listen to. I originally thought that the light show was a little low effort, but nah, it's also very nice to watch. I do kind of feel bad for both Dark Cat and Orvic because they were the 2 new artists, and when you compare their levels to the returning artists, it does seem like the latter got more attention. Oh well, still great. I've always been a big fan of Into the Dream. It's not the flashiest level in the game, but it carries that OST 4 charm and wears it with pride. It's got a great track, great gameplay, a good light show, but most importantly, it has some strong as hell progression, backed by the music and note patterns. This level really gets more investing and intense as it goes on, and that makes a big difference in the quality of a level in my opinion. Ludicrous Plus is great because most of its quality comes off its gameplay and not really much else. The level's really short, has a song I didn't really love, and has a decent light show, but this gameplay is just really solid. It has a really hard-hitting rhythm, it has a really good grasp on what the gameplay should feel like, if that makes sense. It has by far the least progression out of all the OST 4 levels, but it was clearly going for something else. Unlimited Power is our final OST 2 level, but wow is it a good send-off. Despite the somewhat messy gameplay and uninteresting lighting, this level has some of the highest energy in the entire game. It is thrilling going through the rhythmic first section of this level or the gradual build-up in the second half. I don't know, I know a lot of people don't love this one, but it's a real standout in my eyes. Ghost made it this high off of Aura alone. I mean, it is the hardest level. I know there are harder ones now, but just look at this. It just oozes Final Gauntlet with its immense length, its high notes per second, its high variety gameplay, and that damn song. For an early game track, the gameplay actually has a lot of interesting ideas, and while not all of them work, some of them, like the gameplay at the start of the second drop, have become instantly iconic. Don't get me wrong, it's still flawed, but it was clearly a step in the right direction at the time. It genuinely is pretty fun at points, but that wouldn't even matter that much because the feeling you get when you first beat this one is indescribable. I can respect the fact that this level isn't really that good, but man is it one of the staples of the game. Lighted Up is Ghost but even cooler, holy hell. It is not quite as fun to play from the start and the gameplay is objectively not that good, but this one just gets off the coattails of its aura. Like, how are you not going to feel like you're going at the speed of light when that final segment of the song kicks in? How are you not going to transcend once you've gotten past the hard part and back to the same pattern as before? The track is also maybe my favourite Camellia track in official Beatsaber, which is an insane bar to clear. It's not higher because the mapping is pretty damn bad and maybe the most unbalanced in the game, but by the standards of the early OSTs, I'd still say that it's above average. Final Boss Chant is a super cool level that may be controversially low for some of you. My main issue is really just the gameplay and the drop. It doesn't really fit the music at all in my opinion, and if it had been a bit better, I reckon it could have been in the top 20. Overall though, this is a really cool level. Even though there are Camellia songs I prefer, this one goes super hard. The gameplay is generally strong, and it's good to have a really difficult level where the difficulty is built off of speed alone. The lights are also great and make the environment fittingly dark and intimidating. It sucks that this level wasn't made to be a boss fight level given the name. Man, could you imagine a boss fight level in Beatsaber? That'd be so cool. Anyway, 178 is just overall a really solid level as most OST 5 levels are. The gameplay is really fun and makes use of the song's strange rhythm very well. It can be a little annoying at first, but once you get it under the belt, it has some great flow. The music is one of the weaker ones of the OST, but it's still pretty alright. The light show is also really cool. It is really able to change the environment that you're in depending on the intensity of the song, like how it's way darker in these parts and way brighter in these. Have you guys seen damage in Zen mode? It's insane. There's full on health bars, the arrow thing fighting these blocks, this awesome as hell circle formation, a bunch of song rep, it is fantastic. The light show kind of carries this level because man is it creative and fun. The gameplay is also pretty great. There's a few sections which are pretty boring, but also some that go super hard. The music, while not being my thing, is backed up tons by the gameplay and lighting, so that doesn't matter too much either. This is just a really nice level, all things considered. Magic is really great. It's pretty damn easy for Expert Plus, but that's okay because the gameplay is super fun, especially in the second half. OST 5 just generally is really good gameplay, and it's the best part of all of its levels. The music is pretty okay in this one, but not insane, but the light show is fantastic, maybe my favourite in OST 5. It's a great level to play every now and again, since you're never really going to run into any issues with it. It's nice to have a chill level in OST 5, since all the others were intense in some way. Escape Remix is great, and I have very little to say about it. This level is really good mapping, especially given that it's as easy as it is. The lighting is also very good, and I really want to mention how great the environment is for song representation. The music is also a very good fit for Beatsaber, even if it's not one that I listen to outside of it. $100 Bill's 215 Step Remix is the same as Escape Remix except more difficult and therefore more interesting and therefore higher placing. The lighting is also a bit better for having this absolutely awesome part at the end with these bright lights shining towards you. God, I love that part. Anyways, the intensity in this level is very cool. It never lets up, and as soon as you think you have a rest, it throws another stream at you. It's really cool and feels fantastic to finally beat. The gameplay is very fun and solid as expected, and the music is also great in-game while not being one I listen to that much outside of the game. Okay, this is where the levels start getting really good. It Takes Me is another signature OST 4 level, and I really like it for that. The mapping, lighting, and music are all great all the way throughout, but the best part is undoubtedly the chorus, which turns everything up to the nth degree and has some super satisfying patterns in the mapping. It's really one of those levels that can gradually build up more and more in quality and intensity, which is always awesome. It's tons of fun, and while it isn't the most consistent, it hits really hard. It's also my second least favorite Boomkitty level. Heavyweight doesn't immediately come off as a level that should be getting this high, but its forte is its progression. This level feels like one of the most complete in the entire game. It takes its time slowly building up and has a lovely payoff. It's also one of the most emotional tracks in the game, is one of the few to feature lyrics, and just overall feels less like a group of 5 levels and more like its own thing, which is super cool. It's really cool to play levels like this because they feel so unique and fulfilling to beat. This one is also great in all other aspects too. The gameplay is pretty easy but still chill and fun. The song is definitely one of the strongest. As I mentioned, this one works way more for me than Untamed. Honestly, my favorite aspect might be the light show. The way the lights pulse in and out during this section is super satisfying, and it has a lot of cool colors and visuals. This level has been slowly getting better for me as time goes on, and I'm very happy to say that. Danger came out at a great time, before OST 8 and the Coldplay music pack. This one was really the only release of the year that wasn't a shock drop, and boy was it a good addition. Danger is very similar to It Takes Me, and while I think it has ever so slightly inferior progression, Danger beats It Takes Me on the music and gameplay front. The track is another hit by both Temanite and Boomkitty, no need for explanation there. The gameplay though is really cool. It has a ton of variety, a bunch of fast sections, a bunch of slow sections, a lot of streams, tech. It's got it all and it flows together really nicely. It definitely works for me best in the final minute, because I reckon it matches the music superbly well there. The lighting, while being held back by the colour scheme in my opinion, is also really cool and intense. Just a super cool level overall. Monday Not Sick Anymore is just untamed, but literally everything is done better. The light show has better use of colours and objects, the music's much stronger, the gameplay is insanely satisfying, and the progression is also much better. Monday Not Sick Anymore was the first track I played of OST 8, and it was a fantastic sign of what else I was going to get into. This level works so well because the beat is so pronounced. Even ignoring the quality of the gameplay, the rhythm is so strong that moving your arms aimlessly to it would also be satisfying. But the gameplay is fantastic. It doesn't try to go for too out there tech, it's just really fun and matches the music. The light show is also super cool, the fantastic colour usage makes it stand out a bunch, and the gigantic structures are sick as all hell. The only reason it isn't higher is that it doesn't have something that makes it stand out, and the music isn't as much my cup of tea as what's coming up. What the hell even is OST 3? It has 2 mid as hell tracks, 1 super forgettable track, 2 pretty good but flawed tracks, and one of the most dynamic and exciting levels in the game. Burning Sands has next to no light show and just good music, but it made it this high off of the gameplay alone. Scratch that, the gameplay of the first drop alone. The way it uses downward blocks and a duck wall to make you go down when the song drops and then rams you back into it, oh my god, that's so fun! This level just overall has really solid and enjoyable gameplay for OST 3, and I can't really find any issues with it. The song is also, as I said, good, especially in the first half, and the light show does use flickering very well. I love walls. I think they amplify Beatsaber's style of gameplay an insane amount, they're much less frustrating and readable than bombs, and they can really make you feel the music. So it should come to no surprise that Fitbeat is one of my personal favourites. The only reason this level isn't in the top 10 is because of the environment and length, since it's less than 2 minutes long. The actual playing experience of this level is one of the most satisfying things in the game. The rhythm of sliding between these walls is so cool and well made, the duck walls are super well placed, and the gameplay is overall so well done that it turns a song that I don't love outside of the level to an absolute bop whilst playing. It's insane to me that this was released before OST 4, because it wouldn't be out of place in the most recent OSTs. I Wanna Be a Machine is like Heavyweight in the sense that it's a level identified by its progression and storytelling. This well and truly feels like a journey, with the intensity growing and whatnot, and that's amplified by the fantastic music from the Living Tombstone, another artist that I'm kinda shocked hasn't returned. This progression makes the level just generally feel fantastic, since it's constantly feeling a bit different in a logical and sort of emotional manner. While the gameplay and lighting elements aren't as actively insane as the upcoming entries, they're all still really solid and good. The lighting fits the music really well and transforms the space even better, and the gameplay is well designed, with the chorus section being my personal favourite. Firestarter is cool as hell. It's not really intense or telling a story like a lot of the other top levels, it's just there to be fun and it knocks it out of the park. It's so damn satisfying to go through basically every part of this level, but the standouts are definitely that iconic slider section and this part, which I don't have an adjective for, but is so cool. The song is really cool as well. Tango is another one that I'm surprised never showed up again in the game because they clearly make music that fits it to a T. The light show is also really good. I particularly find it good at transforming the space that you're in using colour and the angle of the lights. Everyone involved in making this feels like they were having a blast, and boy do I share that playing it. Power of the Saberblade is this high up mainly because of the idea behind it being the hardest level in the game. I mentioned this before, but part of the reason I like Beatsaber is that while other games will have difficult levels that try to be intimidating and intense, Beatsaber has hard levels that make you feel pumped to try again. No other level embodies that as much as Power of the Saberblade. This level is ridiculously hard. It's filled with unreasonably hard streams, tech, and borderline jank patterns, but the music and lyrics are so uplifting that it never felt bad dying. It felt like both Dragon Force and Beatsaber were pushing you to try again, to fully get in the zone and prove yourself, and finally beating this one is a truly unreal feeling. It took me about 6 months of very on and off playing to finally beat this one after OST came out, and finally reaching the new Sun Rising section is a truly indescribable feeling. Anyways, in terms of the actual level quality, I actually used to have it a bit higher, but in retrospect the gameplay is a little messy. Despite its overall high quality, it's a bit unbalanced and has some weird patterns. I originally assumed this was unavoidable for 10 NPS levels, but a certain recent addition to the game taught me that insanely difficult levels can still be really fun. The light show has tons of awesome Easter eggs, even if it doesn't hit the highs of some of the other levels, and the song is an insanely good banger. Cathedral never really occurs to me as one of the best levels in Beatsaber, but when I actually think about it, this is shockingly fantastic. I really enjoy the progression, especially near the climax, and the gameplay is super well designed, along with having the buff of being in swing rhythm. However, while both of these elements are great, the real standout to me is the light show. They really cooked here. Everything is done brilliantly, to the color scheme, to the song representation, to the visually appealing patterns, to the space construction. It's even better for having the constraints of OST 6. The song is really the only thing holding this back in any way, and I think it's my least favourite of Boomkitty's Beatsaber tracks. While it's still great, it does feel a little empty. With better music, this could have easily gotten 5th or 4th place. Well, we're now in insane territory. These are all on a certain pedestal for being staples of how good this game can get, and there's no better way to start than with Dragon Smash Goblin. This level is the one that convinced me to lower power of the Saber Blade, because this level not only has insanely difficult gameplay, but it has insanely fun, difficult gameplay. This one is a blast to learn because it really tests how well you can read, with tons of left-handed streams and really well executed tech. The bombs are the only part of this level that feels annoying, and for a 10 NPS level, that is impressive as hell. The light show is also unimaginably good. Usually I don't like levels that don't have a strong color theme, but this one pulls it off super well. The colors just pop and make the whole thing way more visually appealing, along with the dragon designs, movement, song representation, consistency, and oh my god, I love this level! Surprisingly enough, I feel like the only reason this isn't higher is the music. I love the track and instrumentals to absolute bits, no issues there, and I kind of enjoy the lyrics, but I also think that if the song had been going for something more like Power of the Saber Blade, it would have worked better. I don't know, it's a pretty small issue because the song still works really well. You guys know why the mastery is this high. I don't have to explain myself. If you've played it, you know exactly what I'd say for this section. This level is filled to the brim with fun, excitement, and bloodshed. The lighting is fantastic and makes the master enemy a super fun villain. The music slaps super hard, as you already know. The progression is excellent, with the end feeling so fun and climactic, and the gameplay, while having some issues, is still really fun in a bunch of sections. More so than anything, the idea of a Beatsaber boss fight is a fantastic one, and it was executed super well here. It's probably the single most unique level in the game, and I love its personality to bits. They should really make a sequel. Anyway, Badly has my favourite gameplay out of any level in the game. That's the one, officer. Everything from the super fun tech, to the speed, to the difficulty at the end, to the music rep is basically perfect on a gameplay front. It's one of the few levels that I attempted many times in a row to get into SS, and never got bored simply because of how fun it was to go through. It is an absolute blast, and immediately confirmed a space among the greats. I also reckon all of the other aspects are great. The music is a total banger because Camellia and Electro Swing go together like bloody magnets. It's much more listenable than all over the place tracks like Luster or Tempo Katana. Speaking of which, Tempo Katana is electric. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like being thrown through a wall in the best way possible. This level well and truly packs a punch like no other, and everything in the level works together to achieve this. The gameplay, while not being as overwhelming as Dragon Force, stands toe-to-toe with the two levels with its mind-bending tech that is so cool to see in OST. The track is really incredible, moving all over the place and backing up the feeling of the level immensely. It took a while to grow on me, but it's now definitely one of my favourites. The light show too, oh my god, the light show! This is music representation at its finest. It uses the blocks and mechanics in the OST 6 lighting system and moves them at breakneck speed, constantly shifting to match the tone, creating awesome patterns, insane movement, text. It's a freaking blast! The tech was definitely executed better in future OSTs, but this used to be my #1 spot for a while, and I totally see why. Spin Eternally was, when it came out, a well and truly perfect level, and the only reason it isn't now is because of the light show standards increasing. Ignore that and you have a perfect level. The energy in this level is freaking palpable. The environment goes all over the place, the music is super fast, and the gameplay just stays interesting throughout the entire thing. There's so much variety in every aspect of this level. It has a bunch of different rhythms throughout the first 2 minutes, then goes into this insane melodic drop, and just when you think it's going to slow down, it goes into the most fast-paced, intense part, and it's insane! The gameplay is also aged insanely well. There are no real issues or weird notes. In fact, it keeps the charm and awesome playing style of the earlier OSTs, while also playing more smoothly than a lot of recent levels. The song is also perhaps my favourite in the entire game. Every goddamn part of it works, and I've never gotten tired of it in the 2 years I've been listening to it. This level is well and truly an experience, and beating it for the first time and 20th time both feel just as cool as each other. but it didn't manage to get the #1 spot. As much as I think that it's a perfect level, there's one that is even perfecter. The Master 2 is my favorite rhythm game level. It is my favorite in Beat Saber by a reasonably large margin. What more could you want out of a video game level? Seriously, how can you make this better? The music is fantastic, both easy to listen to and highly effective. The gameplay is some of the most fun and well designed in the game, and the light show is maybe the coolest thing I've watched in VR. Most importantly, the progression in every aspect of this level is the best out of any Beat Saber level. The Master, the actual enemy, feels more and more powerful and threatening as the level goes on. It gets more and more intense, starting off with some really funky Latin melodies and ending with a full-blown orchestral choir. Literally every section of the gameplay gets harder as the level goes on. Like, I can't get over how consistently it does this, all the way up until the end where it gets a bit easier, which I love because it allows you to take in the spectacle. That final section makes the Master feel like a genuine, unmatched supervillain, and it feels even better than getting to defeat him in the original. The light show has tons of awesome elements, like the block speeding past you in the bomb section, the masterpiece contraption, the way these things singing in the choir, the colors, god damn, this level is fantastic! I feel like I have to put more emphasis on the music. This seriously feels like one of the greatest songs Boomkitty or Temanite has ever been involved in. The melodies are so cool and evocative of old school villains to an insane degree. There's so many different musical sections, yet the whole thing feels super consistent, and that final section is so cool I literally don't have the words to describe it. These guys have well and truly solidified themselves as some of the best people working with Beat Saber right now, and as longtime fans of them, I am thrilled to see that. Overall, the Master 2 is the first level in Beat Saber that I don't know if they're going to be able to top. I know that the best elements of things like spin eternally, tempo katana, and the Master could be combined to make something even better, but this? How? The gameplay is fun as hell, the storytelling and progression is by far the best in the game, the music is probably the best in the game, and the lights, like, do I need to say it? I am so well and truly happy that this turned out as well as it did, and I'm so goddamn excited for the Master 3, which I reckon we can be pretty sure will be in the next OST. Well, there you go, my thoughts on every single level in Beat Saber. I'm very much excited for OST 9, custom sabers, and everything else they seem to be planning for next year. Speaking of next year, that may or may not be when you see me next. I could get a new video out in between then, but we'll just have to see. I'm going to keep doing analog horror videos since the Gemini one did super well. Anyways, Beat Saber is a super awesome game with some super awesome levels, and I totally get why it's one of the biggest VR games. All of this video ignored all of the custom levels, many of which are also fantastic and super experimental, but that's too large a topic and I'll leave you to look into that insane mixing pot yourself. So with all of that out of the way, thanks for watching, slash 'em like you mean it, and cue the outro music.